The eye didn't blink. It just stared, lidless and vivid red, like the last ember in a dying fire. I couldn't move. Not because I was frozen with fear, though I was, but because something in that stare held me. I felt like a bug, pinned to a wall under a microscope. My heart pounded so hard it made my ribs ache. Then, slowly, the eye retreated. The crack sealed itself with a low groan of wood and plaster, like the house had drawn a breath through rotting lungs. And then, silence. I didn't wait for another sign. I grabbed my bag, my flashlight, and bolted down the hallway toward the front door. Only it wasn't there anymore. Where the front entrance had once been was just more hallway. Endless, dark, whispering. The wallpaper was moving now, crawling with shapes that pressed against it from the other side like children behind a shower curtain. I turned around. The collector's door was gone, too. No rooms, no bedroom, nothing, the house had rewritten itself. And then came the voice. Not loud. Not sudden. But close. It hissed from somewhere inside the walls. All around me. You opened the door. You belong to the house now. The floorboards beneath me breathed. I could feel it, inhale, exhale. Then the wood cracked in a perfect circle beneath my feet, and I fell. Not far. Just a story, maybe two. But when I landed, it wasn't on wood. It was on flesh. The floor was warm. Slick. It squelched beneath my weight. I looked down. Meat. Veins. Pulsing tissue. I was in the basement. Or what the house called a basement. The walls were made of sinew and brick. Pipes ran overhead like bones. The air smelled of rust and iron and something sweet, the kind of sweet that comes from rot left too long. Shapes moved in the dark. Not quickly. Not directly. But always in the corners of vision. I swept the flashlight around. That's when I saw the murals. Not painted. Carved. Etched into skin. They told a story. Not with words, but images. A traveler. A cabin in the woods. A hidden door. A great eye. A long hallway filled with mirrors. A creature made of others. Me. It was all me. My arrival had been foretold in blood and muscle. I was meant to come. Lured. Just like all the others. And then came the humming. It started as a vibration. In my teeth, in my bones. The flashlight dimmed. From the far end of the fleshy corridor, something approached. Tall. Thin. Limbs too long. Its head scraped the ceiling. It didn't walk, it glided. And it was humming the same lullaby I heard on the first night. The one my mother used to sing. In the woods, the silence grows. Where no one comes and no one goes. I ducked into a small tunnel in the wall, crawling through something warm and alive. I didn't know where it led. I didn't care. Anywhere but there. Eventually, the tunnel spilled me out into a chamber. A round room, built from bones and teeth. At its center, something sat upon a throne of ribs. A woman. She looked up. She looked exactly like me. Her eyes were wrong, just like mine had looked in that cracked mirror earlier. Too wide. Too aware. She smiled. We always come back here, she said. Some part of us never leaves. And now that you're here. She stood. We can finally finish the collection. From the shadows behind her, the collector emerged. His mask cracked as he grinned. Behind it, something squirmed. I turned and ran, again, and this time I didn't stop. I ran until the halls blurred, until time meant nothing, until I couldn't feel my legs. Until the red light of the eye faded into pitch black. And then I woke up. In my car. parked beside the goose-shaped mailbox. Engine cold. Phone buzzing with signal. I checked the time. 2 full days had passed. The cabin was gone. The woods looked normal. As if nothing had ever been there. But when I turned the ignition and the radio flared on, I heard something. No music. Just that same voice. Soft. Breathing. "We're still with you." And in the rearview mirror, for just a second, I saw a handprint. Pressed against the inside of the glass. 7 fingers. Let me know if you want to follow up with another new horror story or loop back to any specific creature or vibe, analog horror, urban myth, demon, tech-related, or sleep paralysis style tale. I'll build the next one fresh in just as long. I travel a lot for work, mostly conferences, trade shows, and training seminars in cities that blur together. It's all sterile carpet, stale coffee, and plastic name tags. This trip was no different. I was booked at the Derringer Hotel, a strange mid-century place near the edge of the city. It had been recently renovated, but something about the listing felt off. Still, it was cheap and close to the convention center. I checked in late, around 11:45 p.m. After my flight had been delayed twice and I sat in traffic behind a wreck for over an hour. The woman at the front desk smiled too much and never blinked. "Welcome to the Derringer. Here's your room, 6A, she said, sliding the keycard across the counter. I paused. 6A. I thought the hotel had only 5 floors. She didn't break her smile. "Of course not, sir. We have 6. Then leaned in and whispered. "But don't tell anyone you're up there." She laughed, like it was a joke, but something in her eyes told me it wasn't. I stepped into the elevator and scanned the buttons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6A. It wasn't aligned with the others. It was slightly crooked, almost like it had been added after the panel was manufactured. I pressed it. The elevator lurched. Groaned. Then rose. No music. No indicator lights. Just a flickering overhead bulb and the hum of something ancient turning beneath my feet. When the doors opened, I stepped into silence. There were no other rooms. Just mine. A single brass door, 6A. The hallway behind me was only 6 feet long. I swiped the card. The door opened without resistance. The room was immaculate. Like no one had stayed there in years. Everything was beige. The carpet, the wallpaper, even the lamp had a yellow tint like old teeth. The window looked out onto nothing. Just a brick wall so close I couldn't even reach my hand out through the narrow gap. I turned on the TV. Static. No channels. The remote had only 3 buttons, power, volume, and one labeled return. Return to what? The bed was firm, untouched. I dropped my suitcase, kicked off my shoes, and flopped backward. I was asleep in minutes. And I woke up not to an alarm, but to a knock. 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 3:11 a.m. The sound came not from the door, but from the closet. I stared. Didn't move. Just listened. "I saw you check in," a voice said from inside. Hoarse. Quiet. "You're not supposed to be here. You should have gone to 5. My heart stopped. "Who's there?" No response. Just breathing. Ragged, wet breathing. I grabbed my phone. No signal. No Wi-Fi. No emergency services. Another knock. Then rattling. The door handle twisted. I sprinted to the door, opened it, and ran into the hallway. Only. There was no hallway now. Just a wall. Behind me, I heard the closet door creak open. And a whisper, soft and strained, like someone with their mouth right against my ear. You opened the door. That means it's your turn now. I blacked out. I don't know for how long. But when I opened my eyes, I was lying on the carpet. Back inside the room. The window was now open. The view had changed. There were now dozens of windows across the brick wall, all identical to mine. And in each of them, a version of me stood staring out. Some looked afraid. Some angry. One was smiling. Blood smeared across his mouth. I backed away slowly. Each version of me mirrored my movement, except the smiling one. He waved. Then pointed down. I followed the gesture with my eyes and saw something below my window, at the base of the brick wall. A hatch. Heavy. Iron. Marked with the same label as my room, 6A. And something was climbing out of it. Let me know when you're ready, and I'll continue right from there into part 4. I pressed my face against the glass. Whatever was coming out of the hatch wasn't human. At least, not anymore. It moved like it remembered how to walk, but forgot why. Jerked limbs, like a puppet with tangled strings. Its arms were too long, bending at the elbows and then again at unnatural joints. Its skin, if you could call it that, was a patchwork of slick, pale tissue, as if sewn from leftovers. It looked up. And every version of me in the opposite windows turned away, except one. The smiling one. He nodded slowly. Then mouthed something. Let it in. I stumbled back from the glass. The room darkened. All at once, like someone had flicked the sun off. Only the lamp by the bed stayed lit, casting a jaundiced halo on the stained carpet. Then, a knock. Not from the closet this time. From the window. Knock. 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 I froze. The window was on the 6th floor. There was no balcony. No ledge. The knocking grew faster. Desperate. Hungry. I backed away. Heart hammering, breath shallow. Then the voice returned. Low. Broken. Not from the window, but from the TV. Return. That same word. From the remote. The third button. The screen flashed to life. Static again, but this time it twisted. Formed a shape. Letters. Press it before it finds the door. Press it now. My fingers shook as I lifted the remote. Just as the window shattered. Glass exploded inward, but nothing came through. Nothing visible. Yet I could feel it. The room pulsed. The wallpaper peeled. The closet door creaked again. I pressed return. The screen went black. So did the room. And the sound stopped. When I opened my eyes, I was still in room 6A. But it wasn't my room. The walls were green now. Peeling paint and exposed wiring. The furniture was old, moldy. A rusty fan spun slowly overhead, doing nothing to ease the thick, humid air. No windows. The closet was now a door, painted shut. The TV remained. Still broken. I turned on the lamp. And there was a notebook on the nightstand. Torn, water-damaged, but readable. First page. To the next one who pressed return. If you're reading this, it means you've been transferred. This isn't a dream. You can't wake up. Return doesn't send you home. It sends you somewhere else, another 6A. Each one worse than the last. Second page. There are rules now. Follow them if you want to survive longer. 1. Don't trust voices behind the walls. 2. Never sleep between 3 a.m. to 4 a.m. 3. If you hear your name whispered, never answer. 4. You'll get one more chance to press return. Use it wisely. 5. Don't let the man under the bed speak. I dropped the notebook. Something moved beneath the mattress. Scratch. 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 And a whisper, like wet leaves dragged across a windowpane. I know your name now. The whisper crawled up my spine like a cold hand. I know your name now. He said it again, louder this time. In my voice. I jumped away from the bed, nearly tripping over the nightstand. The light flickered, casting long shadows that danced like they were waiting for me to fall. I wanted to run. God, I wanted to tear open the door and bolt, but it was painted shut. No handle. No give. Just that scratching beneath the bed and a voice pretending to be me. Hey, it whispered again. You left me here. In the first room. Don't you remember? I didn't answer. I couldn't. My throat was dry, locked tight like a sealed jar. I tried to ignore it. Think logically. This had to be a dream. A vivid, rotten dream. Maybe I'd been drugged. That drink at the gas station, that weird-tasting water bottle I drank before heading up the mountain. But the moment I thought, dream, something slammed the bed from underneath. A muffled laugh. You think this is a dream? That's cute. You've already bled here. Dreams don't bleed. I grabbed the notebook again. Flipped to the back. A final page, scribbled hastily. If he speaks more than 3 sentences, he's real enough to pull you under. Get out. Get out. Get out. I dropped the notebook and backed toward the window, only to realize it was gone. No glass. No frame. Just wallpaper stretched tight over nothing. The entire room was warping. Breathing. Another voice joined the one under the bed, this one distant, like it came from inside the wall. Do you want to try again? It was the TV. On by itself. The screen didn't show static this time. It showed me. Standing in the corner. Watching myself. I looked back. No one there. Do you want to press return? There it was. That word again. This time, the TV had a prompt. Press return. Yes. No. There was no remote this time. No button. Just the TV and its glowing options. You don't want to do that, hissed the voice under the bed. You'll just go deeper. This is still shallow. You can still breathe here. The bed creaked. The mattress lifted slightly. I made my choice. Yes. I didn't touch the TV, I just said it. Out loud. And the moment I did, the screen turned black, and the room folded like paper around me. I woke up lying on tiles. Cold, damp, and slightly sticky. This wasn't room 6A anymore. Not a motel. Not even a building. It was a hallway. Made entirely of bathroom stalls. No ceiling. Just rows and rows of grimy metal dividers stretching into pitch blackness. Every few feet, a dim, swinging bulb buzzed overhead. The floor was streaked with what looked like mop water, and something darker. Each stall door had a number. 6A. 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 Over and over. Some were slightly ajar. Most were locked. I walked. Slowly. The echoes of my own footsteps chased me. My breath sounded too loud. Too wet. Then I passed one stall, just barely open, and heard sobbing. Please, a woman's voice whispered. Please don't open it. He's wearing my voice. I paused. Peered through the crack. Nothing. Just darkness. He's wearing it. Like a coat. That's not me. Another voice came from the next stall. She's lying. The next one. They're both lying. The next. Turn around. I froze. Turn around. Then I remembered, the smiling version of me in the window. I turned, slowly. Nothing there. Except the lights. One by one, going out in a straight line toward me. Pop. 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 Something was coming. And it was killing the lights as it moved. I ran. Stall doors flew past me. 6A. 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 I stopped at one that looked different. Wood instead of metal. A brass knob. 6B. No time to think. I threw it open and stepped in. Slammed it shut. And inside, was a living room. Carpet. Couch. TV. Fire in the hearth. A man sat in a chair, back to me. Wearing a bellhop uniform. Stiff posture. He didn't move. Until the fire crackled, and he turned slowly. "Welcome," he said. "To the last return." I stood frozen in the doorway, not because of the man's words, but because his face was blank. Not scarred. Not hidden. Just missing. Where eyes should have been, porcelain skin, smooth and untouched. Where a mouth should be, nothing. No expression. No sound. And yet. I'd heard him. "Please. Sit. You'll need your strength." His hand pointed to the couch, even though he hadn't moved. Not really. It was like a loop, his body stuck in a GIF, gestures repeating with robotic grace. I stepped forward. The carpet under my feet made no sound. The warmth from the fireplace was real. Real enough to feel, but not to trust. I glanced around the room. Bookshelves with no titles. A lamp that hummed like a heartbeat. A clock on the wall. Ticking backward. I sat. The fire crackled. Then hissed. Then turned blue. The bellhop finally stood. "Do you want your memories back?" He turned. His back still to me, somehow. Like no matter how he moved, I could never see his front. "Do you want to know why you were brought here?" I didn't answer. "You signed the terms, didn't you? Before you entered." I didn't. "Yes. You did. The moment you said yes to return. That's all it takes. 3 letters, and everything you are becomes hotel property." The couch melted beneath me. Softened into slush. I shot to my feet. The fire roared suddenly, turning to 1,000 eyes, blinking in unison. Each flame was a memory. My mother reading bedtime stories. My first home. My face, as a child, then as a teen, and then something else. Something wrong. All blurring together. The bellhop whispered. "We're very good at storing guests. Especially the ones who don't know they've already checked out." And from behind the chair, something stood up. Another version of me. But older. Gaunt. Sunken eyes, pale lips, ragged breaths. "He's still learning," the bellhop said. "But soon he'll be ready to replace you." Replace me? Why do you think we collect stories here? They're not for the listeners. They're for the replacements. They need you to finish the loop. The walls began to breathe. The ceiling cracked open, and I saw them, hundreds of me's. In beds. In bathtubs. In corners of rooms that never had corners. They all turned to look at me. Eyes glassy. Mouths open. "Help," they whispered. "You're the last return." I ran. I didn't wait for another cryptic warning. I shoved the door open and flew back into the corridor of stalls, only now, it was no longer tiled. It was carpeted in tongues. Actual, twitching tongues, sewn into the ground, licking at my shoes as I sprinted forward. The air pulsed with laughter, not human, not mechanical, but recorded. Someone was playing a laugh track, like a sitcom, from a broken radio. And still, those damned doors. 6A. 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 Then, finally. 7. A new number. A chance. I pushed it open. This time I fell forward. Into snow. Thick, black snow, it didn't melt. It clung to my clothes like soot. The sky above was the color of bruises. And the trees? They moved when I looked away. The wind whispered with all the voices I'd heard so far. You're getting close. Too close. Turn around. In the middle of the clearing, a mirror. Not attached to anything. Just standing upright in the snow. And inside it, my reflection was smiling. I wasn't. Then the reflection said something. Not in my voice. But hers. You can't run from a place that lives inside you. Then it stepped forward. Out of the mirror. And smiled wider. The thing that stepped out of the mirror wore my skin, but it wasn't mine. It moved too perfectly, like a puppet operated by a hand that had studied every twitch of my muscles. It smiled wider, stretching the expression past the limits of anything natural. A crack formed at the corner of its mouth as the flesh tore, but it didn't bleed. It just smiled more. You've been running so long, it said in a soft, familiar voice. Why don't you rest now? Let me do the living for a while. I backed away. The snow crunched beneath my feet, but there were no tracks behind me. No proof I'd ever been here. It stepped forward. You remember that night at the lake, don't you? The one you never tell anyone about. I do. It took another step. Or that thing you whispered to the nurse before your grandfather died. He heard you, you know. Shut up, I said, not loudly, not bravely. More like a wish than a command. We are made of all the things you bury, it said. I am what you refuse to face. Its hands reached into the snow, and pulled something out. My old wristwatch. The one I lost at 13. A cassette tape with no label. A piece of crumpled paper that I knew. I just knew, had the last words I never said to someone I loved. It held them like trophies. And then it began to hum. A lullaby. My mother's. I ran. I sprinted through the trees, blindly. The snow gave way to ash, then to tile. The forest blurred behind me until I collapsed back into that same hallway. Only this time, the doors were different. Each one now had a nameplate. Not numbers. Names I recognized. Mrs. O'Hara, 3rd grade. Ethan M., first kiss. Dad, before he left. Cassie, missing. Each door buzzed softly, like they were aware of me. Behind one door, I heard piano music. Another, screaming. And one door, completely still, that one drew me in like gravity. It was mine. My name. But carved in reverse. I reached out. My hand trembled as I touched the knob. The door wasn't cold or warm. It felt like skin. I turned it slowly and stepped inside. The room wasn't a room. It was a moment. A suspended pocket of time. I was standing in my childhood bedroom, exactly as I remembered it. The poster on the wall slightly peeling. The faint smell of pencil shavings. The soft buzz of the street lamp through the curtain. And someone was in the bed. Me. But younger. I watched myself sleep, and for a long time, nothing happened. Then I heard it. A knock on the closet door. The sleeping version of me didn't wake up. But I turned, slowly, toward the sound. Knock. 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 I approached it, the same way you might approach a caged animal or a ticking bomb. The doorknob rattled. I opened it. Inside was not clothing. Or shoes. But a man. Folded like a rag doll into the dark corner. His limbs wrong. Too long. Bent at angles that betrayed biology. His face hidden behind a porcelain mask, like a broken doll. He whispered one word. Finally. Then he leapt forward. The man in the mask lunged for me, but just before he reached me, everything froze. Like a movie paused mid-frame. His hand hung inches from my throat, porcelain mask cracked where the mouth had once opened. Around me, the bedroom dissolved, layer by layer, like wet paint peeling off glass. I blinked, and found myself not in the hallway. Not in my memory, but standing in the lobby. The hotel. It was alive now. Grand, decadent, almost beautiful, but wrong in ways too subtle to name. The chandelier swayed gently even though there was no breeze. The wallpaper pulsed softly, like it had veins beneath it. And at the check-in desk stood a man in a bellhop uniform. Only. His face was blurred, smeared like oil paint. "Welcome back," he said, voice echoing strangely. "We've been preparing your room. You're the final guest." "Final?" I asked, but my voice came out muffled. Like I was underwater. This place survives on memory. Regret. Echoes. He tilted his head. "And you, my friend, you have so many." He lifted the guest book. My name was at the bottom. Underneath it, scrawled in red. Checked in. Never out. I followed him through a corridor that had no right to exist. It bent sideways, then dipped like a staircase that forgot how gravity works. The wallpaper turned from velvet to burlap to something scaly that shivered under my hand. Doors lined the walls. Each one whispering. "Help me. Don't look inside. He's still in here." "Who are they?" I whispered. "Guests," the bellhop said. "Still paying their stay." A door burst open as we passed. Inside, a woman stood before a mirror, screaming at her reflection that wouldn't mimic her. Another door, chains. A man pacing. Writing the same word over and over on the walls. Forgot. I began to understand. This place fed on what we buried. Mistakes. Secrets. Every truth we refused to speak. And mine. I saw it before me now, etched into the next door. My brother's name. I hadn't spoken it in years. I reached for the knob. The room was foggy. Soft ripples across the floor, like water, but I wasn't wet. At the far end, a dock stretched out into what looked like a small lake. He stood at the edge. 9 years old. Exactly as he was the day he drowned. My brother. He turned, slowly. "You were supposed to watch me." My throat closed. I tried. I didn't know. "You left," he said. "You heard me calling, and you didn't come." Tears stung my eyes. The lake was glowing faintly now, something beneath its surface swirling. "I waited," he said. "Now I live here. Where memory doesn't forget." He stepped backward, into the water. Sank without ripples. I ran forward, calling his name. But the lake was gone. The room was empty again. Except for the mirror on the wall. My own reflection stepped forward. Smiling. I was done running. I smashed the mirror. Behind it, not bricks. A hallway. Crude markings lined the walls. Scratches. Names. Days tallied. And one message, carved deep and ragged. The only way out is through. I followed it, deeper, until the passage grew tighter. The air turned warm and wet. Then I heard it. Breathing. Not mine. It was behind me. No, it was in me. A presence trying to wear me like skin. And then, a door. Different. Wooden. Unpainted. With a real keyhole. And in my pocket, the old brass key from the cabin. I took a breath. Inserted it. Turned. Click. The door swung open, and a cold wind hit me. Beyond it, daylight. Mountains. Sky. Freedom. I stepped forward. But the door slammed shut behind me. When I turned, the cabin was gone. The hotel, gone. Just trees. Wind. And yet, somewhere inside me, I still heard it. The concierge's voice. You checked out. But some part of you always stays. There's a place up north they don't put on maps anymore. Locals call it Whisper Hill. You won't find it on GPS. You won't see road signs. But if you drive far enough into the pine-covered backroads of Vermont, there's a turn, unmarked, overgrown, where the asphalt bleeds into gravel, then dirt, and finally into a narrowing path swallowed by trees. I wasn't supposed to go there. But after my sister disappeared last October during a weekend hike, and the police gave up, I found a post on an old conspiracy forum. It was titled, "People Go Missing Near Whisper Hill. They Don't Come Back. But sometimes, they whisper through." And someone had commented under it. If it took her, it left a way open. Go while it's fresh. I packed a duffel bag, loaded my camera gear, and didn't tell anyone where I was going. Just a printed screenshot of an old topographic map with a circle drawn around a faint, barely visible rise in the hills. Whisper Hill. The road to Whisper Hill wasn't really a road after a point. More like the suggestion of one. Pine branches clawed at my windshield. The sky dimmed though it was only 3 p.m. And then I saw it, the tree the forum post had mentioned. An enormous, warped oak with symbols carved into its bark. Not letters. Not even runes. Just shapes, circles nested inside each other, spirals bending the wrong direction, symbols that unsettled more than they confused. Someone had nailed a note to its trunk. Yellowed. Water-stained. If you see her, don't speak. If she speaks, don't listen. My hand trembled as I tore it down. A breeze moved through the trees, but I couldn't hear it. Just, breathing. Not mine. Deep, steady, somewhere behind the tree lean. I drove on. The cabin appeared just before dark. It wasn't on the map. Wasn't in the satellite view. But there it stood, 2 stories tall, long since abandoned, ivy crawling across its side like veins. I set up my camera gear inside. Brought a camping lantern, water, and the photo of my sister I kept in my wallet. She was smiling, holding up a peace sign. Always the one chasing ghost towns and urban myths. I whispered, "I'm here. If you're here, please." The cabin creaked as if in reply. The night was long. At 3:11 a.m., the lantern flickered. My camera, shut off. Batteries full, but dead. Then, I heard the steps. On the porch. Deliberate. Slow. Heavy. Something stopped on the other side of the door. And knocked. Once. Twice. A third time, softer. I held my breath. From outside, a voice called out. "Danny, it's me. It's Laura. My sister's voice. You can open the door now." I found the way back. I shook. Choked down a sob. But I didn't move. Because I remembered the note. If she speaks, don't listen. The walls seemed to breathe. Every inch of that old farmhouse now felt alive, not with warmth, but with an ancient pulse that had just awakened. I pressed my ear against the cold wallpaper where the knock had come from, behind the sealed wall, and held my breath. It was quiet now. Too quiet. I pulled back slowly, unsure if it had been real or imagined. Then the knock came again. 3 sharp raps, rhythmic, like knuckles against hollow wood. It wasn't just inside the wall anymore, it was closer. Louder. More confident. A low creak echoed from upstairs. Not like a settling house. It was heavier, deliberate. I turned, every muscle in my body stiff and coiled. The staircase stood still, draped in shadows, yet the sound of slow, dragging steps moved just above it. I backed into the kitchen and reached for my phone. No bars. No Wi-Fi. Of course. I tried calling out, "Hello." My voice cracking. Silence. Then, a response. But not in words. Something mimicked me. It was faint, but I heard it, a second, softer, "Hello," from upstairs. Same tone. Same inflection. Like an echo that didn't belong. I froze. Whoever, or whatever, was in this house knew my voice. It had learned it. I grabbed a flashlight from my backpack and hesitated at the base of the stairs. The beam flickered as if unsure whether it wanted to cooperate. I started climbing, each step protesting under my weight. The air changed with each footfall. Colder. Heavier. At the top, I turned toward the master bedroom. The door was cracked open slightly, just enough to see inside. The light from the hallway cast a soft glow that stopped right at the threshold. "Hello?" I asked again, barely above a whisper. And from the darkness, the same voice, my voice, answered back. "Hello." But it was different now. Distorted. Elongated. Like it was stretching my words too far, testing the shape of them with a mouth that wasn't quite human. I pushed the door open. The flashlight flickered. The room was empty, at first glance. The bed was untouched. Curtains still drawn. But something caught my eye, a faint scrawl on the mirror across the room, written in what looked like charcoal or dried ash. "Don't listen when it knocks twice." I turned just in time to hear it. Knock. Knock. 2 sharp raps from downstairs this time. It had moved. My heart nearly exploded in my chest as I backed out of the room and into the hallway. The walls, they were whispering now. I could hear them. Layers of voices, overlapping, faint, some crying, some laughing, all wrong. Like a memory stuck on repeat but slightly out of tune. I made my way downstairs, faster now. I needed to leave. I needed out of that house. But when I reached the front door, it was gone. Not locked. Not barricaded. Gone. Just smooth, seamless wall where it had been. I stared at it, my mind refusing to accept what my eyes were seeing. I ran to the window next, same thing. No glass, no frame, just wooden wall. The house had closed itself. Trapped me inside. The whispers turned to a low hum. The lights flickered again, then went dark. I stood there, surrounded by pitch black. And from somewhere behind me, very close now, I heard the knock. Twice. Then a voice, mine, said something I never said. "Come in."